Animated more than usual. All right. Ooh, it's quite cool, you know.
Cold?
No, it's cool, as in what you guys do is very cool. So we're 5 past now. Hi, everyone. My name is Uday. I am the founder and president of Oxbridge-AIx, the Oxbridge-AIx Challenge. This is Masterclass with Ox.ai and Q. And it is with great pleasure that Mete and Eric are joining us to do their Masterclass. My one thing that I keep saying, because I'm really, really excited about it, and I'm like, I don't have any right to be proud, but these guys are the first people from Oxford and Cambridge to get in on early admission at YC. That's a big deal, right? They're paving the way for all of us to figure out how to do it, because I think more people should do it, you know. With that, guys, thanks, Manoj. With that, guys, over to you.
All right. So, can people still see us when we share
Yes.
the screen? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
so I'm Mete.
Yeah, I'm Eric. Hi, everyone.
And yeah, we're building Meteoric. It's basically we're building a hardware system that removes fog for solar farms, like outdoor natural fog, like you see in here. So today's masterclass is about hard tech. So particularly about hardware startups, like from idea to early traction. So we generally begin by just saying, like, what is even hard tech? And Jared from YC, he's a group partner there, has a really nice definition. And he explains it as, first, it will take a very long amount of time and money to build your first product. So, and even with significant amounts of money and time and manpower, it's still not clear whether your product can be built at all. It's like building supersonic aircraft, trying to invent fusion power, like stuff like that. And so some examples, like I said, you have like aircrafts, electric, supersonic, like this is from Boom. You have rockets, satellites. SpaceX is a good example. And then fusion, nuclear, biotech, cancer research, drug startups, and so on. So there are like a plenty of hard tech examples. And in our case, we're a hard tech startup too, because unlike software startups, what we're trying to do, we can't build it in like a couple of weeks. We are trying to manipulate the weather, which hasn't been reliably done before. So then the question comes, how do you even generate ideas for hard tech? And I think when we first began, we were asking ourselves, like, why hasn't anyone even done this yet? Or you're obsessed about some stuff technically, like Blake Scholl from Boom Supersonic would used to think that, like, oh, the greatest aircrafts humanity has ever created, like Concorde or the was it XB1, the military one, yeah. And then why are they rotting in a museum if they're like the greatest aircrafts out there? And another example I like to give is like stuff humanity can't do right now, but you genuinely believe that like we should be able to do it in the future, or like near term, maybe in the next 10 years or so. And unlike the general or like the mainstream advice, you shouldn't start with a market research. Like if you want to do a hard tech startup, you can't just go to people in a certain industry and try to understand their needs and so on, because the needs of people are generally, like right now, is very, very, very short term. And in let's say a conventional startup, you are arguing basically today not so many people might need this, but in the future a lot of people are going to need this. Whereas in the hard tech startup, that's not exactly the bet. The real bet is so the real bet is oh, if I could cure cancer, everyone would buy it, but it's really, really, really hard to do. So that's generally the bet you make with hard tech startups. If you can travel around the world within like a couple of hours, or like really cheap, clean energy for everyone. So if it were possible, everyone's gonna probably say, yeah, like most people will buy it, or this would become like $1 billion company, and so on. Like StarCloud is another example. If you guys know about it, they attended YC in 2024. They're building data centers in space. So that's another hard tech example. And then the question is like, where do you even begin? And we were for a very long time on the wrong side of this. Like, we're backed by YC. We're going there on the summer batch, but like, it took us 4 applications to get in, guys. Like, let's be real. It's not like we're from Cambridge, we're cracked or something, and like they took us immediately. We actually worked for it. And one thing that we asked ourselves probably 9 months or 8 months down the line was, what is like the simplest form of our concept that like we can build and perhaps sell right now? And we never asked this for a very long time. Like, we didn't ask this. For our case, I think it was like after we started reading Paul Graham's essays and like watching YC startup school videos, we said, we began with like, we're going to change the weather, we're going to mitigate hurricanes and so on. But we never asked ourselves like, oh, is there like a maybe easier form of weather we can change, and like that can actually create some kind of value for like someone. So in this case, once you have your idea, you know what you want to work on. It's like technically super ambitious. It's like a huge project. It might change the world and so on. So then you ask yourself this question. Is there like a tad bit of version, like a really small, simple, maybe even it's just slightly related what I really want to build, that can actually create a value like right now for someone that like exists today? And you should definitely resist the urge to start building anything before you've talked to people, after you decided on your idea, and you've decided on like a couple small possible versions and so on. And there are several stuff you need to keep in mind when you're trying to choose your early version. So, is it a proof of concept? Like, an example is relativity space. So they're making 3D printed rockets. And I think during the batch, they made like a tiny model version of the rocket they wanted to build. And like they 3D printed everything, and then they actually sent it to space. Another thing you can ask is, again, can I sell this today, and like to whom? Solugen is like a great example. They're a huge company. They're making hydrogen peroxide by using enzymes to reduce carbon emissions in manufacturing chemicals. So they just went ahead, and from what I remember is they built this tiny stripped down version of that enzyme reactor in their garage, and then they just started to sell the hydrogen peroxide, like filling it into buckets or like bottles, and then they just started selling to like local spas and like local shops around. So this is actually I think the best thing you can do. Like you can actually generate revenue. And another thing to consider is if these two things can't happen, like you can't build a proof of concept, too expensive, like for whatever reason, you can't sell it, then you should definitely ask yourself, like, can I at least generate something useful for myself, like some kind of data, or like anything at that point. And Notable Labs, again, a drug discovery company for like cancer, they started providing cancer screenings. So even though they're supposed to create drugs or treatments for cancer, they began with just collecting data. So not only this help people to, I guess, get some kind of tracking about their like cancer. At the same time, Notable Labs, they started learning about like the cancer they wanted to cure. And then we have our proof of concept. So this is the one we used in our YC application. Actually two YC applications.
Our last two, yeah.
you want to explain what it is?
Yeah, so this was our setup. We clear fog outside, so we just thought, why don't we just try and make sort of an experiment on that in a more controlled environment that we can actually do something with. So you can see in the bottom left we have our like crappy, really hacked, put together electronics. We've got this thing Mete put together. Then we have this fog chamber, which is like some really crappy thing we bought from, I don't remember where.
Amazon. That's like a humidifier where like people put some oils in. Believe it or not, the droplet sizes that thing generates is actually very similar to what you find in clouds.
Yeah, so it's a very simple thing. We just sort of diffuse these droplets out and they fill this box. We have our device there, it's a little tiny needle, a high voltage, and yeah.
So by the way, side note, we're working on like technology to reduce fog, and the way we do it is not with chemicals but with like electricity. So we inject electrical charge by using like a tiny electrode. You can't really see it, but it's like a tiny syringe that's held like clamped, and then these like electronic circuits are basically to get from like a tiny LiPo battery to like a couple thousand volts.
And then we just we had some sort of proof of that this worked. We took some measurements. That's what this stuff on the right is about.
So that tube, it was like a air filter, and then that yellow tape there is where we would sample the fog. And this was basically was a proof of concept to show that by using electricity, you can actually control airborne droplets. This is Solugens. This is a good one. So this is basically like a beaker of, I think, hydrogen peroxide, where they use this to apply to YC. So they produce this by using their enzyme. This was really interesting because that enzyme is apparently found in some kind of cancer, and it's like very efficient in like creating something or like some kind of tumor. I forgot, but yeah. Boom. Yeah, for like, even though these guys attended YC in 2016, and it's been 10 years, they just, this is not even out yet, but they're, for example, making a commercial turbine. So even though they're supposed to make aircrafts, so initially they were airframe, then Rolls-Royce dropped them. So like Rolls-Royce basically said they're not going to produce engines for them. So then they had to produce their own engines. And in order to meet the AI energy demand, Blake, I think, had the great idea of, if we can create turbines, why don't we make a turbine to like generate electricity? okay, this is not that like it's not like a huge like a different concept. Gas turbines, this is what you normally find in nuclear power plants or like coal plants. This is like a very established thing. But since they make turbines, they make this specifically for data centers. So you can buy like a container of this and you can produce like tens of megawatts easily. And then, oh yeah, here we go. Proving demand before you actually build. Most of you probably see in mainstream media about startups where like everyone suggests, oh, sell before you build anything. Oh, I wish we sold stuff before we actually decided to go ahead with our idea, and so on. And this is actually even more true for hard tech, because for hard tech, the amount of time you're gonna spend, the money, and like the resources you have is like orders of magnitude higher, like more than like a normal AI or like a software company would need to build their own product. So you want to make sure that there will be some kind of demand for the thing you're building. Even though you're saying, oh, we're trying to cure cancer and like it's a no-brainer, then what kind of cancer is it? Are people actually gonna buy this? When is like the soonest you can actually launch? Can you partner up with any big biotech firms, right? There are like a lot of risks associated with what you're doing. And some of the stuff you can do is get LOIs. So these are letters of intent. They're non-binding customer commitments. If you're building something that you can actually launch really fast, these are bad. You should just sell it. But in the case for hard tech, these LOIs are generally worth a lot of money, like order of hundreds of thousands, maybe millions, tens of millions, hundreds of millions, or even billions. And these are really worthwhile because really big customers, like for example, Boom, during YC signed Virgin Atlantic. And it was like a 10-plane LOI. And I think like each plane was like a couple $100 million or something. So that was basically like $1 billion non-binding commitment. So the real worth of LOIs comes from the fact that customers take these seriously. It's basically the same format as what you find in a real contract. It is non-binding. So like if for example, Boom makes those 10 plates, Virgin Atlantic doesn't need to buy them at all. It's not binding, but a lot of the stuff are like outlined. They're saying like, oh, your planes need to meet these certain requirements, certain conditions. So you're actually learning from your customers what they want, what kind of like value or like exact use are they seeking from your product, which helps you to understand what you actually need to build. Another one is partnerships. So this is an example where like customers help you develop the product. Sometimes they can commit money. They can also take part in like the R&D costs and so on. So Commonwealth Fusion, they signed like partnerships with like several utility companies. Yeah, I don't think like utility companies will help them like figure out how fusion works, but it's probably about like if it were to work, how is it going to be connected to the grid, or like how is the energy going to be distributed, and so on. Another examples is pre-sales or like collecting deposits. So customers pay upfront before you actually launch your product. So Grew Space, relatively new, Sky Yang, Winter 26. So he's selling like reservations for his hotel on the moon. So he's actually collecting money for this. And let's say he has like 20 people who decide to give him like 100 grand. That's like $2 million. And you're saying, oh, They're like 20 people today that really want to go to moon in the next couple of years, and this is a demand. And then the best thing you can do is, again, direct sales. So this list is like, as you go down, it gets better. Direct sales is basically what like SolarGen did. And then our case. So unfortunately, we can't get rid of the fog right now. So we can't do direct sales. But what we began doing, I think like before, during the time we were getting into, we applied to like the winter batch and so on, was we were making like a basic fog loss model where we were just quantify how much solar farms were actually losing in different parts of the world due to fog. And this image is like from like a very first version we built. It like hardly has data. Normally California has a ton of fog. It doesn't show anything there. And we then started to approach to solar farms, asking like, oh, you have weather stations, can we get that data from you? And so on. And when we talked to solar farms, there were ones, for example, saying, oh, like during fog, even though we get reduced output, our like irradiance measurement system still detects some sunlight because they're like placed much higher and the fog is like over the ground. So like my bosses just think I keep missing my targets, because in the solar industry, your targets are given by weather adjusted output. Like they take away like if the weather is bad, that's basically taken out of your like target. You're not responsible for that. And they didn't know like even this was like a big enough issue for them. And for us, we were learning the unit economics. We were learning, talking to solar farms. We were understanding our future, let's say, potential customers, and they were getting like a quantified loss model for like their assets. Oh, this is a good one. So what we did probably wrong in the early days. If you wanna give them like the long story.
Yeah, sure. So,
like how we began.
Yeah, I mean, I can start from the very beginning. I mean, well, as soon as we honed on this weather modification idea, which was an obsession of Mete's, kind of, we kind of dove straight into building. We're engineers, we're technical. It kind of feels natural, but this was a big mistake because we were building the complete wrong thing. This wouldn't have been useful at all. I guess it helped with our building experience, but we spent way too much time, a little bit money, but yeah, the time was just really bad. And we applied to YC with this thing. You see, we didn't get in. This is when we were trying to mitigate hurricanes, and
so this device was basically a measurement device. We were gonna like measure the electric charge in the atmosphere.
Yeah, so we were gonna mitigate hurricanes, but we weren't even like trying to do that with this.
We were doing something that wasn't even like supposed. This is just some like measurement device. And then we actually took this, and when we actually flown it into the clouds, that's like a weather balloon there with like a parachute and like our device. It actually is bigger than how it looks. It was huge. It took us like a lot of time and like money to actually build this and then fly it in the clouds, which it didn't even work.
So I made some.
I mean, like some programming mistakes with like data capturing. Yeah, this is like an example. Oh no! This is this was during the flight, right? Yeah. So we didn't want this like device to even go really high up because we had to get it back to get the data. So we made like a huge system where we got this like huge wheel connected to some like metal frame, and then that had like 3 kilometers of twine on it, so that we actually tethered the weather balloon. And by the way, we flew all the way to Turkey for this because we got the flight permits way faster than like UK. So we just went there.
The UK is terribly slow.
Yeah. And then, oh yeah, this is the
That's a close-up of the MVP.
Yeah, so that was the close-up of like, so this we built over the summer. So when we first began with our startup, that was back in January 2025, and this flight was in May. So it took us like 5 months, or like 4 to 5 months. And then over the summer, we decided to say, you know what, like we aren't even building the right thing. So maybe we should try to build like the fog model. And this is in our kitchen, by the way, in like our dorm's kitchen. Yeah, and then okay, before I delving into that, I want to genuinely say like we learned it like the hard way. It's like we mention like YC as like as if it's a milestone, but it's really not. Like we genuinely think like we kind of wish we didn't like spend that much money and like time working on the wrong stuff, and all the suggestions we're giving here, like how do you even begin, or like what do you keep in mind? Can you create some value for someone? Can you like prove demand or like sell before you actually have it? Is like you don't waste time doing the wrong stuff. And for hard tech, that is abysmal, because for software you can just start, or like if you're making something that can be easily built in a much like quicker manner, that you can just like get rid of it and start building the right thing. But for hard tech, it costs real time and real money. Yeah. And then we have like a possible fundraising journey for hard tech. So you can't just go and say, oh, I want to build Fusion, give me like $10 billion. And that will be our seed round.
Yeah, that's basically what we tried to do.
Sorry?
Summer.
Oh yeah, we tried to raise over the summer. Yeah. So like a possible journey is like a step-by-step, like some kind of a progression when you're actually raising. So like a seed round, you can do it when you have like a proof of concept. So you've proven the science works, and you have also a little bit of commercial traction, some LOIs, or maybe some sales. And then in Series A, you can say, oh, we had like 5 million in LOIs. Now it's like 50 million, or like it's 100 million. Or we have a couple like early pilot partners that are like worth X amount of money. Plus you did some, you hit some major technical milestones with the money you raised in the seed round. Like for example, StarCloud, right? They sent their first satellites. There's like a single NVIDIA chip, I think they sent into space, proving that you can actually train AI in space. So that was like a technical achievement. And then you can just continue that way, right? Like Series B. And as you can see, by the way, like the commercial traction is basically, you're just going down this list. Where is it? Yeah, you're just going down this list. Like if you're out there, you're just going down. If you're close to like making direct sales, you're just increasing your revenue. So in the end, you're trying to build like a healthy, sustainable, high growth rate company. And then on the technical side, you're just getting closer and closer to actually launching your product. So a couple sources that really helped us. So this is great. This is from Jared. He's not our partner, but he's in our group in the summer. We're going to get to meet him. It's kind of exciting. So he has this like great startup school video You can find on YouTube. You should definitely watch it. Like definitely, it's super short.
I'm Jared.
And then Social Radars, Jessica Livingston. Yeah, so Jessica Livingston is one of the co-founders of Y Combinator. She is also the wife of Paul Graham, and they have this episode where she has a podcast with Carolyn Levy, and they were accommodating Blake, which is like the founder of Boom. This was like a great story, like how I think like a day before demo day, everyone thought he was like scamming people because he convinced a startup airline to like give him like an order of like 100 planes or something. And then for like 12 hours before the real demo day, he managed to get like the contract from Virgin Airlines or something. Yeah, this is a great episode.
Carolyn, we are.
And then yeah, PG, the good old Paul Graham himself. He's one of the big names in Silicon Valley. His essays are great. He mostly talks about like software, and you might feel like most of the advice that like YC or like other founders or like consumer startup founders or like B2B startup founders like try to give doesn't apply to you. It does. Like 90% of the time, it does. The only thing that doesn't apply is probably you really want to make sure that like you're building the right thing. You can't get to the, let's say, the thing that you actually need to build by going head first when you're building hard tech. And these are some we suggest. I really like these: schlep blindness, 18 mistakes that kill startup, what you'll wish you'd known, and like how to get startup ideas. So thank you for listening.
That's pretty fun. I'm a big fan of PG.
Yeah.
I've actually digested all of, like, I'm building something for you guys, as in to digest all of his essays for people to chat with. But it's kind of like he's quite a thinker, you know.
Yeah.
And it's like how he is, and what Steve Jobs used to say is like doers are the real thinkers, you know. And PG really like goes like that. So when you go hang out with in YC, hang out with Harj. I think Harj is the closest to PG.
Really?
I suspect because
Yeah.
Harj has been a partner since like 2007, 8, kind of like early days. I'll tell you some stories later, but that was a great talk. Thank you so much. I want to open it up to questions. We already have some. Absolutely, this is one of my favorite masterclasses to date, because it's like every single thing that you guys did. I just love the energy and attitude. You know, it's like that movie where those guys are trying to make a rocket. You know, it's like it's literally someone's going to make a movie about you guys one day. So first question is by Rachel Tan. Rachel, would you like to ask your question yourself? Don't forget to turn on your video, or at least introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Rachel. I'm in the Diploma AI course in Oxford, and I was also looking at YC on the side to do some insurtech and stuff like that. So more on insurance space. I was interested in how you guys came to this idea, because I think you guys just presented the idea, but like, was it like how do you find the problem in the first place and kind of like size it and think it's worthy of like developing a solution? Was it just like for experimentation and stuff, or how do you guys come to this?
So I feel like, so the way I like to phrase this is, with hard tech founders, you feel like specifically for hard tech, you feel like you're like the evil genius who wants to build like something huge, and like known, like you don't really care about whatever people think, but we're human, so people need other people. And in this case, when you're trying to build something really ambitious, it's as if you're signing a social contract between yourself and the people. So you're trying to meet in the middle. Like I get to build something I find interesting, like I find it interesting, and then the other side for the people is actually useful for them. It actually solves a problem. So if you're asking about the fog problem for solar farms, the way we got to that was one day I just went ahead and like asked Eric, man, like just imagine like we could just change all sorts of weather. Like don't think about like any technicalities and so on. Who are the people have like businesses or like working that is affected heavily by weather? So we wrote down everything we could think of, like agriculture companies, solar companies, wind companies, offshore oil, ski resorts. They buy like artificial snow, airports, insurance companies, like basically everyone. And then we just start going one by one, and we just start calling people and trying to find them, figure out who we should need to talk, and then just like call them, ask them, investigate. And we didn't expect much from solar because we thought they were just gonna say, "Oh, just like clear the sky." That's gonna be like, okay, that's nice, but like it's gonna be expensive. And then of course they said that, but then they also said, you know, guys, like when there's like fog, we don't get anything. And then we were like, that's interesting. So that does that make sense? So then we try to understand the scale of the problem by like analyzing weather data in high fog prone regions. And so that's how we kind of got there. And we were kind of lucky because the tech we're working on, in many places, it's generally also tested out in fog. So it's less tried out in like larger weather systems. So it was also nicer, like it's something easier to build compared to changing like a huge system. So I think that answers the question. Or
Yeah, interesting. Just to add on a little bit, we're already working in those domains, like we're a background in those areas that the technologies were in, that it came naturally as a result of that idea to like learn new things and stuff like that.
no, we weren't. I mean,
Okay.
when we started working on this, it was January 2025. So that was back when we were finishing our bachelor's, and we were both pretty, let's say, theoretically experienced in like electrical stuff and like the circuits that were used in this application, but we just started reading papers, watching videos, reading articles, trying to understand how stuff works, and then maybe try to build it ourselves and like see it if we can actually build it. So proof of concept is important on that aspect. If you can actually deliver, right? If you can actually build, if you can actually genuinely understand what you need to build and so on. So that's important as well. So sometimes people think like this is like our master's research or something, or like some postgrad research. No, it's actually the other way around. I normally do research at Center for Climate Repair in Cambridge. And my research, I just turned in the thesis like 2 hours ago, by the way.
And by the way, we haven't slept for 30 hours, by the way.
We pull like a whole night to both of us. By the way, our projects are different. We're not doing the research together. At like different departments and different divisions. And mine is about like using seawater to create like artificial clouds and so on. People think, oh, is this like your PhD? I was like, no, I was already interested about like changing the weather. So the second I saw this project, I was like, oh, I want to do it in 4th year. So it came the other way around. Yeah.
Cool.
It's a great
Next.
story. Very impressive. Thanks.
And then
Yeah,
I think we have another question.
No, next we have Samanyu.
Hi guys. Thank you so much. First of all, great talk. Also, I don't know if it's intentional or not, but it's really cool that you've named the company Meteoric, which is sort of an amalgamation of your guys' names.
Yeah.
So I'm a materials engineer based in Cambridge. I started working on sort of a talent platform for deep tech startups because, like earlier in my career, I used to work with a lot of early stage biotech companies, and that used to be a big sort of challenge where founders had to go in and read papers. I don't know, like I'm sure it's a little early to be thinking about talent, but like where do you actually how do you decide on that and on team expansion at the stage you are at right now? Like, is that tied to a TRL stage that you plan, or like largely to funding?
Yeah. So far we haven't done anything about team expansion.
Mhm.
Like we believe that even if you're a hardware startup, even if you're a like unless you're at a point that you can't keep up with the work you're doing, right? You shouldn't hire.
Love it. Yeah.
Star Cloud managed to send a whole satellite with like a 10 people team, right?
Yeah.
Like people can do amazing stuff with just like a team of couple people or like 5 people or 6 people. So I feel like I really hope in the future we will have the same concerns that like we won't be able to keep up with stuff and we're gonna need to hire people, but we're not that far yet.
I like
And
that approach.
there's a
Thank you.
really interesting Samani, we'd love to catch up with you about this because we're, you know, part of how we do help is like if once the company is big enough, we try and help them with recruiting. But I think it was one of the OpenAI guys who said that you have to push someone to do as much work as they can until they can't do it, and then you know their limit. And unfortunately for Hani, and we've been doing this to her this quarter, and so she definitely reached her limit in the past month. But no, it's good. I'm gonna give now the baton to Amadeo.
Thanks, Greg.
Thanks, Ulay, for organizing. Mete and Eric, amazing talk. Congrats on YC. Really fun to see you guys' relationship. It sounds like a great co-founding duo. I'm going to say my question, but I'll say 2 fake questions first to give you more context as to what I'm getting at with my actual question. The fake questions are, which one of you guys is the sales guy and how much traction do you have so far? That's not actually what I want to hear, but it might help you answer the following question or tell you why I'm asking it, which is to say, if you've got these potential customers, in your case, it's solar farms. How has it been in your experience progressing the relationship from like, you know, a guy who knows a guy, you get on an email thread, to like what milestones you get of trust and of delivering whatever you can of value along the way until you hit your first thing that you get? And you said LOI is a big one, but then the next one could be a partnership in whatever capacity, like they give you advice during your proof of concept test, or they even give you some money for your proof of concept, or then you do a pilot where they pay you a little bit of money. Essentially, like, I'm also an engineer. I did electronics, biotech masters at Cambridge. Like, sales is not what I've been trained to do, and so I'm sort of figuring out as I go and hoping to onboard some customers for my proof of concept. I'm not charging them anything, thinking that if there's this initial investment in the work, they might be keen on converting that to revenue. In your experience, like, what's it been like, the sales part?
Yeah. So sales is for like nearly all technical people, not just for hardware people, is something that like really, I will say, that seems awkward, right? Like it's uncomfortable. We get to like talk with a lot of people, try to really understand them, and so on. And we haven't talked to anyone, like we said, for like a very long time. And our initial talks, when we were trying to figure out the problem, was through mutual contacts mainly. And anyone in, like, I would say in Cambridge or Oxford probably have like 1 or 2 people that they probably know in like any industry, right? And what really worked for us, though, for example, I only knew like 2 people that knew about solar from my own network. But those people were really willing to help, and they always, I would ask them, or they would offer introducing us to more people. And that way we get to have more conversations. And then we were at a point where we needed to do cold outreach, because we were talking to companies in like Turkey, right? Like that's not that useful. We should go to US or like Europe. And that is hit or miss. That's pure pain. You genuinely need to just try stuff. It's incredibly uncomfortable. It's super uncomfortable. You're trying to send emails, they don't work. You feel like you're making like a big idiot out of yourself. But at some point, when you start to try out like different stuff, or for us, we began with saying like, oh, do you want to just talk, or do you have this problem? Or like we would even put our phone numbers like down in the underneath our name, saying that, oh, you can call us in the middle of the night, and so on. And but then at some point we started sending emails to people saying that like, oh, there's this solar farm, we think these guys are losing this amount of money, let's see who runs this solar farm. It's this person. And then we say, oh, is it true that you guys like get this amount of like fog or something? And then they were like, oh yeah, you know what, one of the solar farms that we talked to, like we emailed like the head of asset management there, and then she was like, oh yeah, like this is the guy who runs that place, you go talk to him. And then we talked to the guy, and it was like, yeah man, like in December we only had like 2 days where we didn't get fog, like and you see the demand like directly, because first they're willing to talk to you even though like they don't know you at all. And second is, for our case, he assumed we had the tech ready, and he was like in the call said like, oh, by the way, our like 2027 budget like is gonna get finalized in October. You have like a lot of time, but like if you want to send us an offer, you have to send it by that time. Or we were like, oh, slow down, man. And he was like, how much is it gonna cost? It's like, I don't know, like a first version, it's like a tiny version, maybe like tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands. I was like, oh damn, I thought you were gonna say like tens of millions. So that shows like willingness. Or like one guy we talked to said like, so California gets this like special fog like Tule fog. And we said like, in the call I said like, you get like a Tule fog, right? And he was like, oh my god damn it, like you're like the first people I know that don't live in Central Valley and knows about what Tule fog is. We're like, that's our job, we have to know it. So you just try some stuff. LinkedIn, we even went to conference, we went to Italy, thinking that we're gonna meet like some solar companies. It was only salespeople. You go to exhibitions, right? Like you just try to exhaust all the options out there.
And so has anything converted?
We got like some, I mean, no, we haven't, like, we're not making sales. We're still trying to understand, like, to quantify the problem. And we realized the weather station data they have is kind of useless for us. So now, like after actually using it, so now we're actually making like a new model, which I think we're going to use like irradiance stuff already existing.
So is LOI your target for traction, the next milestone?
So assuming that after we actually quantify the dollar value that like solar farms in certain regions lose due to fog, and we genuinely think we can make this profitable, then I think not even LOIs. I think we're probably gonna go right with like pilots and so on.
Do you guys mind if I say something?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Amadeo, I'm gonna just build on what Mete has been saying. So I'm a sales guy, but I did maths, right? So I'm one of you guys, you know. But I, the way I got used to it was, I don't know, you just throw yourself into it. It is, so there's a few this is your first masterclass, I'm guessing. So there's a few masterclasses we've had on sales, which I think might be useful as well. But my two things is like what they've been saying, which is really key, is, you know, you have to just try, and you have to be very like observant. But depending on what you're doing and what you're trying to get out of it, the type of traction changes. If you are looking for fundraising, right? Specifically institutional, like VC investment, or even YC is basically it's a VC, right? The aim of the game is reducing the risk. So there's a really interesting video. There's a few videos I'm going to quickly do a shout out on. One is this YC video on how to get your first 100 customers. We have a few different ones here, but the YC one that I like is Sam Altman's. And it talks about these 4 things. First of which is like you speak to everyone you know, which is what they did, right? And then there's another Brian Chesky video, which is like finding the first 100 people to love you, or you just care about the first 100 people. Similarly, there is a video by wait, what's his name? It's not YC. This is I think it's Anderson, not Horowitz. It's not Ben Horowitz. It's Anderson, and he talks about one is like 400 personalities, but he also talks about like the VC mentality and how it's all about risk reduction. So your job as a founder, up onto product market fit, is to look at every single risk you have and reduce it. And so LOI is a form of risk mitigation. That's what traction really is. We can talk about this more if you ever want. But similarly, it's great that you're asking them because they're figuring it out, and that's the thing. Steve Blank, I'm also very tight, guys, so I feel like we're just in the same wavelength. But Steve Blank's definition of the startup is it's a temporary organization in pursuit of a sustainable and repeatable business model. So what?
That's a good definition.
It's a good definition. Yeah, he's good this way. Now, what you guys are doing, which is great, is you're just repeatedly testing things out to figure out what your go-to-market strategy is.
Yeah.
And what you figured out already is conferences don't make sense. You know. Now, if you want to speak to farmers and not in the US, let me know. I'll send you to Zimbabwe. South Africa. Yeah, no, because there's a lot of parts of farming in the US is very similar to farming in Africa because it's mass scale farming.
Like huge utility scale. Yeah.
And so in the 80s, Zimbabwe was the 7th richest country in the world just on farming. But so there's a lot of people who just care, right? They look at these details, and when you ask these random questions, like I think that was a very good approach, to get the attention. Another thing for cold emails that works for me. So I met Steve Blank or connected with him years ago because I think I put something like I was just throwing random things of using his techniques in different situations. And then I met this other VC. I said, how would you do mergers and acquisitions to try and buy NGOs in order to do sales? Yeah. When people think differently out of the box, people think, this is what the interesting conversation. It's just 15 minutes of your time. And then you use this 15 minutes of time to generate curiosity, and then you build a relationship. And so the term customer discovery, which is what these two have been doing really well, is the key word, and you can translate customer discovery into sales.
Nice, thanks. And if you guys are in Cambridge in June, I'm going to drop my email in the chat. Drop me a line and we'll meet up.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Thanks again.
Sure.
See ya.
Now we have Eugenie.
Hi, thanks so much for a really, really interesting talk. My question is around the YC application. So you applied 4 times, which is impressive, resilience. What do you think got you in the 4th round in the end? Any tips for those of us who've applied twice so far?
It was okay. So 3 times we applied. We applied with the idea that we were going to mitigate hurricanes. First one, we didn't have anything. Second one, we had that measurement device and the flight we did. So market-wise, most like who's gonna buy this question, or like have you talked to anyone question? Like we sent the same answer like 3 times. And 3rd time we applied, that was for fall 25. That was when we had like the good prototype, like the useful one, like the proof of concept. But the real thing that really got us in was that folk for solar farms framing. They were like, oh, you actually went to talk to them, because before they got us in, they sent us a message, like Jared, saying that, like, guys, like, how did you quantify this?
YC sent you a message.
Yeah. Saying that, like, we saw your application, here you go, like a message. And they basically asked, what is the cost, how much energy is it gonna need, and so on. And then we explained that. And then we haven't heard from them for like 2 days. And then we got an email saying in 24 hours you have an interview. And then in the interview, they generally didn't even know what to ask us. Like, they'd never seen anything like what we're working on. But they were still asking really smart questions. They were asking, like, what are regulatory concerns? So, like, in regulation to this, who's going to buy this? Who's the first customer? Why would they buy it? That was like the best question they asked us, was like, why would anyone build a solar farm in a place where the sky isn't clear? Right? And we were kind of lucky because there was this huge solar farm in Sacramento. It was built around like a decommissioned nuclear power plant. And then I just went to them because this experience just came from me talking with people, because I said, these guys don't even care about their efficiency because the land is free. There's already high voltage grid connection, high power connection, because there used to be a nuclear power plant there. The land is also flat, right? It's like a nuclear power plant, so everything is well done. No, you don't need to do some surveying. You don't need to do some stuff. So even though the efficiency is low, these guys didn't have any cost, so they built a huge solar plant there. And then they really liked it. I was like, oh, you have insight. And you need to be very specific. You can't say, like, if you're making, I'm gonna like make some AI insurance brokerage. You can't. Who are gonna sell it to? Every B2B company? No. You might as well go ahead and say, like, oh, we're specifically going after like consumer electronic manufacturing companies that are like of the size of this, because with their employments, they hire like people seasonally, and like in order to get like insurance for those people that they hired is like really hard, or blah blah blah. So like the more specific it gets, the better.
Okay.
They generally don't care about is it gonna be a huge thing today, because if it's $1 billion market today, we would already see $1 billion company. So YC, the good thing, the group partners went through YC themselves, their founders, so they can dream with you. They can see that like in the next 5 years it's gonna be big, and then they look at you and they say like, yeah, I believe that as well.
Yeah.
So we treated YC to push ourselves. That we said like we have to, like, we applied once. If we don't apply the next cycle, we're gonna be screwed. They're gonna think we're not serious, and we're applying again, and now we have to show what changed, progress.
Yeah.
So for like 9 months, we really pushed ourselves to just make progress, to show something on the application, and so on. And that really helped us. And those questions make you think about some stuff. Yeah.
Well, good luck with it. When do you start? You're doing it this summer, is it?
Yeah. So we're going there like 22nd.
Well, have a fantastic time.
Thanks.
Any more questions? Do you guys mind if I jam with you a bit?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna try not to keep you too long, because I'm falling asleep. But so I mean, I'm just loving it. You know, you guys don't get it. The attitude, you two have such incredible attitude when it comes to building. You're doing everything textbook. So what was it, the PG essays, or what was it that got you to just be like, fuck it, let's just speak to as many people as we can?
We mean like let's just do it, or like
let's just speak to people. Like, the hardest part in Oxford Cambridge is
it was so bad. Like when
yeah.
Okay, this is a funny story.
Yeah.
We were this is by the way, never do this. This is like one of the worst things you can do. We were getting feedback on our YC applications from VCs.
Yeah.
And they would look at our YC applications and they would make these like ridiculous suggestions. And we were thinking that like, oh my God, these guys like invested in a couple of people who go into YC, so they should know everything. They have no idea. They're no founders.
Just in case there's any VCs on the call.
But one VC that had a kind of like a real help was, he said, you know, like to the how did you hear about YC question, you have to say you have been reading Paul Graham essays for years.
Yeah.
And then we wrote that down. And I was like, God damn, like I felt bad because like we kind of lied, right? And I was like,
yeah,
we wrote that down, so maybe I should just start reading it.
Yeah.
And then when I started reading it, I was like, Eric, this is damn man, like this guy talks about everything. So I started doing the worst possible thing. I just started reading the fundraising essays immediately with like Paul Graham, right? And then in those essays, he starts to talk about like, hey, you're kind of reading the wrong thing. Like if you want to do fundraising, here are the stuff you should do, like talk to people, do this, do that. And the more I read, the more my heart would drop. I would get like this, my heart rate would like skyrocket as I would read those essays, thinking like we're so screwed, we have been doing everything wrong all this time. Because it made sense, the stuff he was talking about. And then like for a couple of weeks over the summer, like said to Eric, like, we're not building anything. We gotta fix talking to people.
Yeah.
And then like for like a week or two, I just like consumed all the knowledge about like how to talk to people, what to do, blah blah blah, written by like other people. YC Startup School would take notes. I say rewatch the videos and so on, saying that like, oh, use their outreach templates. Like you begin from somewhere. And it wasn't like we were obsessed with YC. It was because they had really good content.
They have the content. Yeah. I mean, it's good content. Some of it's very good content. We do no, but I love it because it is the hardest thing to get people to do. So we have a requirement now. We're going to be doing a growth track, hopefully this summer. And the requirement is if you don't speak to at least 100 people in 2 weeks, you're cut from the program.
That's a good one.
Yeah, because you know, in my day, so Steve Blank, right? He's got this course on Udacity called How to Build a Startup, and I used that in my undergrad thesis to build a social enterprise. And that was like the framework, and it's the most useful thing that's helped me in my entire career. And he just talks about how you just go and speak to 200 people, and it was designed mainly for software. But and in Cambridge, there's a guy called Chris Lemaison, who is he's brilliant market like researcher, and he's come up with this whole thing of you only need to speak to 10 people, but that's for like as a business you need to figure out, you know, whether something's worth getting into or not. And I've done a bit of both with MedTech, but I have interviewed from the things I built so many people. You become the expert, and it helps you understand the business from the different angles, right? So the question you talked about, like, why would anyone build a solar farm where there's fog, right? It's I mean, like, it helps you understand the business, right?
Yeah.
Answering that question helped you understand the business of being a solar farm.
Yeah. Mostly, I feel like what questions you should actually ask. Like there are questions like that always, one or two, always in your head, thinking that it's gonna kill your business or something, and like you generally have to get it out really fast.
Yeah. No, it's very reasonable, the absence for what you do in the face of it. So do you think in hard tech that it's possible to have hard tech but still software hard tech?
Oh, that's a good one. So you can have software in the sense that you can build a simulation of what you're trying to build.
Yeah.
So like if you're, let's say, making a new kind of satellite or new kind of like a drone, or like you're saying we're gonna make like a swarm drone thing, You can like code up software behind that, like Swarm, like Hive Mind or something. You can use simulations. I think most coding is on the side where like you can make some technical progress. But I think the real interesting part would be you're a hard tech company, but like you coding stuff is just for you to like sell something right now. That would be interesting. I can't think of like an example right now.
So I'm gonna talk aloud my because it really stuck with me what you were saying. So Oxbridge-AIx is what is called, so another group of essays that I recommend to everyone is NFX. It's a VC in the Bay, which you should definitely talk to, because depending on how you feel about this, but you'd also find a lot of people in Israel wanting to see you solve this problem. They're very into using this kind of tech for agriculture and stuff. And so they have a lot of white papers. And it's people like one of the founders from Last Minute, the guy who basically did Facebook's virality and network effects. So it's my favorite VC. And one of the visiting partners in YC right now, Kovir Tagger, he was a friend of my sister's. They were the founding team of Oxford Entrepreneurs, and I got to live with him when I lived in the Bay. And he went through them. They had a guild before they decided it would just be a VC. And he said one thing, which was go to places where find out where your customer lives and focus on that. So it's all a distribution conversation, right? So like you went to conferences, right? That's like you're trying to be efficient, but I don't know so much about in your space about farmers or solar farms. Sorry, I say farmers because I keep thinking like, why wouldn't you try and just make it rain more? It's interesting that you chose fog versus
about
rain.
That as well. Increasing rain too, but like
because electricity, static charge, that's like also
so there
right.
are like several issues that we saw with that. First, like cloud seeding. So this would be just electric based. Cloud seeding. In itself is technically much more demanding and challenging. Like we have a lot of cloud seeding companies, but like maybe a couple of them go out and say like, oh, we put like a gram of this chemical and then you get like gallons of or like tons of water out, which is outrageous. They always say that they're doing cloud seeding operations because they can't really claim that like they made the rain and so on. But the real issue there is with the free rider problem, right? Like even if you can make it rain, first there's the incredibly big issue that how do you prove that it was you? You're gonna because it's not like you're gonna double the amount of rain. It's probably gonna be like in the early days you increase the rain by 10%, 20%. Like meteorology isn't that even advanced. They say it's gonna rain, you get like sunny weather. They say it's sunny, and then you get like some hail or something. And first you have to prove that. Second is rain happens generally very large areas. Who's gonna pay for it? If it rains on the street, what's the exact value? If you're filling up a dam, water is much cheaper than electricity. Like electricity is cheap as well, but water is much more cheaper. And the worst part is normally cloud seeding works with already existing rain clouds. Because if there are no clouds, you can't make it rain. And in order to make it rain, you need rain clouds because you can only do with chemicals mostly. You can only make it rain when the temperature is below like 0 degrees or -5, -10, which is really high up. Either super high altitude clouds or normal rain clouds. So it was gonna rain anyway. So like it's like not exact same, but it's like you're gonna solve fusion, but like you don't even know like how much value that's gonna generate. So one thing our group partner Gustav said when I brought this to him, by the way, was like, he said, because he knew about the companies, like he knew about Rainmaker, he knew about like different companies and so on. He was like, the more commercial your customer is and the more localized you can make your effect, the better. And the only parameter you guys should focus on is how much revenue you can generate per meter squared. And that was like, I never thought about that. And per meter squared, I genuinely think that rain is like an order of magnitude smaller than like solar, probably. So the more localized, easier to do, easier you can sell it, and easier you can build it. So we think of it that way.
What has been the experience? Because I'm going to ask some early decision questions. Is that okay with you? But I mean, they say so. Like they say it, you know, takes some people 6 times to get into YC, right? So the persistence thing, you explained it a bit, and I love the fact that you were like, so where does it come for you guys? First question is this desire to this, even the logic, the rationale that we need to show we made a difference between applications. Where did you pick up on that? Because a lot of people, they just apply hoping something would be different. You know, they don't realize something's changed.
I think like everywhere when you apply it, it says that like you can always apply again, make some more progress and so on. And we always felt like we have to make progress. It was actually more like we would get these emails and they're like, oh, you guys were like in top 10%. They probably send it to like most people like coming from universities like Cambridge or Oxford or Imperial and so on. And we felt like they were actually looking at our applications, and like someone was there thinking of like, oh, what are they gonna show next time? I didn't like this, something like that.
Yeah.
And one thing like people always say is like, oh, you have to move fast, you have to make progress, and I could never wrap my head around like the speed aspect of like a startup. And what it basically is you just have like a very limited amount of time, no matter what you do, and like you just have to do it. Like you can't say like you have years or months ahead of you and like send those emails tomorrow. No, you have to send them by, let's say, the clock hits 7. So that sense of urgency is I think it kind of came, I think in my case, I really wanted to go to San Francisco or like get into YC because I had like a lot of friends who went there. And I genuinely thought it was like a great deal because I knew like doing like a conventional round was going to be like a pain. And like going to San Francisco on our own was going to be, again, unnecessary pain. It was like, oh, we can just get into YC, use their name, get their money really fast, and then we can just continue working on our business, right? That's like the biggest biggest help of like early stage startup of YC. I genuinely think is that.
Yeah. Signal.
And yeah, I think people should just keep applying. Like another, I think, big difference was. And I start to see this now because I talk with like younger people here in like Cambridge who are like trying to do a startup. Is a lot of people have like a big like co-founder issues, question marks. Like I think we were like incredibly lucky that I never had a single question about like our relationship. Like not once. I never said like if we were to get in, like he's gonna come, he's not gonna come. I never asked myself like if we were to, I would always explain to him, like ever since like the first days, like, oh, just pick someone that you're willing to go to the end of the world with. And I think like because we never like wasted time on stuff like that, we probably managed to do real work as well.
Eric, I'm gonna ask you. So, what has the experience been like since you got early decision?
Wow, that was a good one.
I can give you an honest answer, but
Yeah, give an honest one.
honestly, school has been kind of screwing us over a little bit.
Yeah.
I don't know how happy this stuff is. That's why right now I just have a feeling of dread now that okay, we finally finished our fucking masters. Now I just feel like we're like slowly dying already. Get some sleep before we start working on the company
But
again.
they've been mentoring. He's been mentoring you all this time.
Good stuff.
He's definitely
like you got access, right? Yeah,
we have a meeting like once a month since we got in.
Have they given you Bookface?
Oh yeah. Bookface. We got the money from them. It was like super fast.
Oh, you got the money already? Shit.
Well, we got the money in like January. Like there was Christmas. You got in like the early decision is you get in, get the money, Bookface, everything. Every week, every 2 weeks, every month, whatever group office hour you want with your group partner, so be it. So that was great for us. Like a lot of people that we see right now with other companies who are still trying to get their money, still wasting time finding a place in San Francisco.
Yeah.
We just arrange all of those in like January.
Yeah.
Like sending docs to like IRS admin stuff, all done. So like.
So what is the expectation when you get there from them?
Her decision.
Yeah. Like how, still 3 months, right? Is there any difference in the program? Is it like 80% sales still? Especially what you're doing. Yeah.
Okay, so the advice you get depends on where you are.
Yeah.
Ever since we got in, unfortunately, it wasn't like last year or like fourth year. We thought it was gonna be like way easier and like, oh, it was like last year in Cambridge, we were about to graduate and so on. But it wasn't like that. We had like projects, we had deadlines coming up, we had to go do actual work, and then we had exams we couldn't really prepare for at all. And there's always the question, then why did we even apply early decision if we're not going to graduate, or like if we're going to fail, right? Because we applied early decision so that we get to graduate before going to YC. And the role of your group partner is always to push you. So Gustav was pushing us. He would try to understand like the exact reason why we were slow in doing X or like doing Y, or like why can't we show any progress. He would we would be able to message to him like 24/7 and so on. And like early decision is, I think, like mostly for students or like whatever reason you have.
Yeah.
But from what we see, like from what I see, talking to like other early decision people, some people didn't even know like what they were going to even work on. They were saying that maybe we're going to do something in medical insurance. So like we're just talking to people. They were trying to figure stuff out. That was their advice, for example, with their group partners. Gustav was pushing us to do work more on like quantifying the exact dollar loss, exact megawatt hour loss, and blah blah blah, and so on. Or like go to conferences, talk to solar farms, use LinkedIn, go to exhibitions, expos, and stuff like that. So we went to those, and it's really nice because the second you get in, they treat you as if you got in to the batch that you applied to. So you get the money ASAP, Bookface ASAP, all the materials, YC advice, office hours. Yeah. So that's like a huge advantage.
Cool. what would you? This is more for me.
Yeah.
What would you say if you had to rank all the different things that you get from the infrastructure? What is the most valuable to least valuable?
Ooh, from YC.
Yeah. For you guys within hard tech, or even generally, I mean.
Okay, so first we haven't gone through the batch yet.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
let's say so far we're just about to go, right? So we had 6 months of like 6 or 7 months of like basically early decision, pre-YC, or like whatever you call it, period. And for us, most useful was definitely the office hours with the group partner.
Cool.
Because even after reading the PG essays and like
you don't
consuming a
know
lot of
what the timing is, the
content.
relevance sometimes. Is that right?
Yeah. We when we were talking to Gustav, it was like, because he worked with solar companies that sell to solar before, and it was like, oh, you guys need to work on these. You guys need to say this. Why don't you guys tell them frame what you're building this way, or blah blah blah. And we're like, God damn, this guy's right. And then you have like someone else that really cares about your startup, and that was like the first guy that actually cared about what we were building was like Gustav, because we didn't have any investment. I had friends who managed to raise before, or like some angel would put some like kind of commitment. It isn't like you get an investor or like a first believer, blah blah. It's more like someone genuinely believes in like something you do, and then they actually commit something to that, and the relationship is more personal rather than just on the surface making money. I invested in you, don't want to see you again. And how many people we talked, how many people interested in our industry would like reject us, tell us ridiculous stuff, and then you get like one guy, and then like you get to work with him, and so on. So yeah, I think that's like the biggest value we got.
I'm trying to figure out how to get more people not to have, like, rejection. Some people just find it tough.
No, I mean, they say it themselves. Like the way I motivated myself about that.
Yeah.
It's not even motivation, by the way. It's a fact, right? I don't want to speak bad about anyone, but like, I had friends from my high school. This kid Bura, they're a company called Hockey Stack. They did YC in 2023. They're insanely good. They're going really well. They're Turkish too, and they dropped out from uni. And then I first saw the YC logo from him posting on like LinkedIn. I was like, what the hell is this? I like the orange color, so I started looking into that. And then they were going crazy good. And then I always asked myself, these kids didn't even go to uni. These kids didn't even do anything. Straight after high school, they went, and apparently they applied 4 times. But back in the day, it was 2 times two batches a year. So they applied for 2 years.
Yeah.
And out of all the people I had, like I've known around, let's say my network or like my schools and so on, the ones that got into YC the second they applied with nothing at hand, that they haven't faced the reality or like how harsh building a startup is, went on, raised huge amounts in the middle of the batch, which YC advises heavily against. Just work on your startup, you're gonna raise at the end of the batch, right? Those guys would raise like 5 million, 10 million seed rounds from Cambridge, from like really good unis across the globe. It's been like 3 years now, and where are they now? Those kids from my high school were like, they didn't really raise that much, like 100 people working for them. They have been quadrupling their revenue for the past 3 years.
Cool.
They're in like double-digit millions. They're going crazy good. And then they just kept on. And I said, like, if these guys kept on applying, who am I to like not apply only once and then get demoralized after getting like a rejection? Right? And then the goal is not just to get into YC. Like it
Just
sounds
to
very
solve a
cliche,
problem. Yeah.
but like you just want to build, like you said, a sustainable, healthy, growing, profitable company. And like in the end, you generally want to be like an old white boomer who has like a company where like they have some good revenue or blah blah blah, right? Right. That guy's a working business. Like even though you think, oh, they're just like contractors or like they're just flipping real estate or something.
Yeah.
Well, it works, right? Like
Yeah.
we don't even have that yet. What we work on sounds cool, but like if it's not gonna work, then like what was the point? Right? And it's the same with YC, right? Like there's a saying where like you can easily get VC money the more you don't need them. I think it's similar to YC because we were saying like maybe we're not gonna gain, maybe we're gonna gain in 2027, 2028. So like let's just try to do this barehanded. Let's just try to do it the hard way, and then we go in. I didn't really expect that we would, but yeah.
Cool.
But we were just, it was like a ritual. We just like keep applying.
No, it's good. I just need your help to get more people to do that. Yeah, not just YC, but just keep going for it. I say you'll help. You know what I mean? You guys, this helps. This really helps. You've got.
Yeah, and then
still
like
19.
you read like you said, Sam Altman, watch his videos, read his blog, or like PG, his essays, his videos. And the one thing they always talk about is we thought smart people were the way to go, but now we realize it's actually determination.
Yeah.
And then if those guys are saying that, they probably know something, right?
Yeah.
And then you just have to be like persistent.
No, I mean, yeah, it's I'm obsessed with people who are like got grit, problem obsession, growth obsession. You know, you guys. I'm so glad Emery introduced us, man.
Same, man.
Yeah, I want you to meet Brandon when you're out there.
Yeah.
He's doing a quantum tech company. He's just
Bay Area.
Yeah, he's YC as well.
Yeah. Oh, damn.
He's on the WhatsApp group. You guys on the Bay Area WhatsApp group yet?
Yeah.
Yeah, just find him on that. Like he's it's the right philosophy, you know. You have the right philosophy, both of you, and it makes such a difference.
Yeah.
And I mean it's fun. Like, don't get me wrong. So my experience was less. I didn't go to YC, but I was at Stanford for 8 months building, and it's similar Kool-Aid, slightly different, you know. But just people care about people who care, you know. And so the factors, yeah, like talking to people, right? So we pitched to basically like the biggest Chinese VC in the Bay, and I can't remember, something like GVC Capital, GCV Capital, and one of my classmates was a VC working for him, and he had invested in two of our biggest competitors. And I was like, he's answering questions like, should I be telling you this? You know, he's like, probably not. And I think the thing that really got him interested in talking to us was like, I figured out speaking to, so we started in food tech because we're trying to, like, it's the same thing, like it's same concept, but in different. Insecure employment is the problem. We started in restaurants and hotels, and I figured out speaking to all these people working in kitchens that they had nowhere to go but church. Other than church, they just go to work. So I figured out I should go to church to meet people, you know, and just things like that, you know, just like it's different, you know.
Yeah.
Like because in restaurants, it's not like you go to a school. Because most of the people who actually go work in these restaurants, they're either Mexican or El Salvadorian or whatever. And where do you find them? Yeah, church.
Yeah. Basically, you just need to really, or be like your customers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And in Portugal, when I moved there, that's the first accelerator we had got into. I would do shifts. Yeah, and I was looking for there was this thing like, well, the first time someone does something you didn't expect, that's a good sign. And one day, like, so we would have like a gig economy, but based on like a network that you trust. So this guy, we told him the restaurant didn't want him. He still showed up for work, and someone else didn't show up, but he showed up. And it was just, I just remember that moment of feeling like I didn't plan for this at all. It's so it's just fun. It's fun. I'm really loving the energy and the attitude. You guys are gonna you're gonna do so well in life. Like
we'll see, man.
No, because you're not gonna give up. That's the key, right?
Yeah, that's the key, of course. Like,
and you're having fun. I mean, Eric is about to fall asleep, so I'm gonna say goodbye. But
I think both of us, we haven't had like sleeping about 36 hours or something.
No, but it's I'm gonna switch off the recording. But thank you everyone for joining us. Thank you, Mete and Eric. This has been fantastic.
No, it was a
Really
pleasure.
Appreciate it.
Really hope we could actually be useful.
Oh, very useful. This is